All right. Welcome to episode 58 of the More Doors podcast. We've got a killer episode today and an amazing guest lined up that we're all very excited to have on and to take time with us and to dive in. So we are going to do that right after this. Welcome back to episode 58 of the More Doors podcast. We are excited for a good one today, and we want to get right into it. So we're going to fly through the sponsors. Make sure you check out deepbluere.com, the home of Deep Blue Capital. Go over there, create your investor profile. We have all sorts of fun educational content over there on your investment journey, and sign up so you can get early access to our new offerings, deepbluere.com, and then head over to Tore Studios, Tore Studios.com for all your content creation, YouTube videos, podcast creation needs. That's Tore Studios.com. That was the quickest we've ever done sponsors.
Good job, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. From now on, let's go real fast.
Really fast.
Usually the host really belabors those points. I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, that guy is long-winded. We've got an awesome guest today, and I am super excited. I have not read this book in years. It was one of the first kind of like really big influential books that I really read in my entrepreneurial journey. The author of The Go-Giver, Mr. Bob Burg, is with us today. Bob, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Great to be with y'all.
Absolutely. And I would love to just dive in. Normally with the guests, we always have them do the background and all this type of stuff. So, I know that we want to be, I think a lot of people, our listeners, kind of already know you, know a little bit about your story. I would love to, if you're comfortable with it, kind of just dive in a little bit to the Go-Giver philosophy for people that haven't read the book. If you could give maybe just an elevator pitch on the concept, the philosophy, maybe the laws of the Go-Giver, and a little bit about your journey in the creation of this ideology.
Well, I might not remember everything you just asked, so I'm going to start. I'll start with the
Fair
first
enough.
one, and then I'll let you ask whatever you feel like asking me, and hopefully I know the answers. The basic premise, and it's a business parable co-authored with the great writer John David Mann, and it's the basic premise is very simple. It's that shifting your focus, and I think this is really where it all begins. Shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well, but not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical type of reasons. Oh, just give and be nice and good thing. No, not at all. It's much more real world than that. It's much more logical, much more rational than that. And it ties very much into human nature. And that is when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires, making it not about you, but about helping them solve and overcome their problems. When you can move your focus off of you and on to helping that other person move closer to happiness, well, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell the world about you. They want to be what we call your personal walking ambassadors.
Yeah, I love that. And so, one, thank you for the background. And that was kind of the Go-Giver was kind of the first real depiction in my entrepreneurial journey of the idea that you can get anything you want if you help enough people get what they want, right? It's a really sort of way to rationalize it. And I would like to kind of put that in the context of our listener base a little bit. we run a multifamily investment company, and multifamily syndication is what we do. A really real world context of this is this business. The reality is, to be successful over the long term in our industry, by definition, we have to bring immense value to others.
Absolutely.
We raise a lot of money for very large investments that people wouldn't be able to access on their own, and they entrust us to operate those assets in a way that is in their best interest. And it is also true that real estate investment involves some level of speculation. Over the last several years, the industry in the space was rampant with speculation, and a lot of operators that were just trying to get closings done, just trying to build massive portfolios, and they weren't necessarily acting under the guise of the best interest of their fiduciaries, of their investors. There was a lot of deal doing that got done that was really great for the operators on the front end, and unfortunately now that's coming back to bite a lot of people. And I just think that that's a really great encapsulation of the go-giver ideology, is that if you're operating from a space of what's best for you first, you may have short-term success, but you certainly will pay for it in the long term.
Which is why we started the show, actually. You know, as I'm going through my messaging, Bob, like, you know, I was given this book to a mentor friend of mine, Brent Hicks, and it was the first time I met him. We're going to coffee. It was for my residential sales business, and he's a loan officer trying to get my business, but he didn't ask for anything. He gave me the book, said, read this. And this was, this was probably 2016, 2017. And, you know, one thing that we've done with the podcast that we started here at More Doors, it's about making sure that we're just putting out educational content and bringing on amazing people like yourself, Bob, with really no expectations in return. So, you know, can you give us a quick overview of those 5 laws, and then we can kind of dissect them of how they would, kind of intertwine in the multifamily investment space?
Sure. The 5 laws themselves are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. Law number 1 is the law of value, which says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear it, it sounds rather counterintuitive. Give more in value than I take in payment. That sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy, right? So we have to simply understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, whether we're talking about a product, a service, a concept, an investment, a deal, or what have you, that brings so much worth to that other person, right? So much worth or value to them that they will willingly exchange their money for this and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit. The key is that, both parties come away much better off afterwards than they were beforehand. Yep. And this is certainly the case with the service you offer. Now, but it happens not because, the focus is on the fee you're receiving. The focus is on the immense value you're providing. The fee or the money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you provide. This is why John and I say that money is simply an echo of value.
Yeah.
Focus on the value you're providing. The money is simply a natural result.
Yeah.
So that's the law of value. Law number 2, the law of compensation, says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. In the story, Nicole, the CEO, tells Joe, the protege, that value, the law of value represents your potential income, but it's the law of compensation that represents your actual income, because it's all about how many lives you impact. And that's so very key. So we could say, law number 1, exceptional value, plus law number 2, your exceptional reach, equals very high compensation. So law number 3 is the law of influence. The law of influence says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Again, sounds kind of counterintuitive, maybe even Pollyannish, right? But we know the greatest leaders, top influencers, the most sustainably financially successful entrepreneurs and salespeople. This is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for the interests of the other person. Now, that said, let me qualify this because I think it can be easily misunderstood, and it's very important. That when we say place the other person's interests first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. No, not at all. It's simply understanding, as Joe learned from several of the mentors in the story, the golden rule of business, the golden rule of sales is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win.
Yeah.
Law number 4, the law of authenticity, simply says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In this part of the story, Deborah, the main mentor in this section, just shared something that she learned that was very important to her, and that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, the same way people know, they feel good about it, they feel comfortable with you, they feel safe with you because they know who they're getting. So it's such a key aspect. But the word authenticity, I think, is, and maybe, and I don't know if you all have noticed it, and to me, it's sort of since social media has become so prevalent, just the term authenticity seems to be hijacked a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Authenticity means no boundaries. Just say, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter if you offend, what have you. And I don't really agree with that. That's sort of like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot, and if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. To which I say, baloney. And it's sort of like, what it really means is this person has an authentic problem,
right,
that he needs to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of himself. So we never want people to look at authenticity as an excuse for not growing, but rather as impetus for becoming the highest version of yourself. My very simple definition of authenticity is acting congruently with your values. And I think if you do that, you're on the right track. And then the last one is the law of receptivity. This one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And I think really it means nothing more than understanding that, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other. It's both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts, though unfortunately the world around us gives us so many horribly negative anti-prosperity messages. You'd almost think they are two different kinds. They're not. No. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin. And we need to always make sure we question all those anti-prosperity messages that occur out there, and instead recognize that, to the degree you add value to the lives of lots and lots of people, that's the degree to which you're going to be very, very financially successful.
Exactly. Go for it, Boots.
Yeah, I want to just kind of double tap into two quick questions with you, Bob. One kind of more of a observation though, right? Like I love the focus on adding values or adding value. But I really do believe that that concept has gotten very, very diluted over recent years. And I'll give you an example, right? Like, I think I responded to a Facebook ad a couple of months ago, maybe better part of a year ago, and it was, contact me for multifamily investing advice. And I clicked on the link and I got an automated message back. He's like, I would love to spend time with you and add value wherever I can. And we got on the call and the guy opens up with, how can I add value? Spent no time getting to know me, right? Other than or preparing for our engagement. And then halfway through the 30-minute call, he very quickly transitioned into, this is a deal that I'm raising money for right now, right? So how can you gauge the authenticity of someone who claims that they just want to add value and they don't have some immediate agenda that they're just doing a bait and switch on?
Sure. It's a great question, and it's a fantastic point, because just like authenticity, the word value, can have whatever meaning someone chooses to to give to it. But really, so what it is, and when we talk about earlier about it being the relative worth or desirability of a thing to the end user or beholder, here's the key part of that. Because it's relative, what that means is value is always in the eyes of the beholder. It's not what we believe is of value about what we do. It's not what we believe they should believe is of value about what we do. It's about what they believe is. So how can you determine what another person would find to be of value? Well, what you do is you ask questions and then you listen. And you listen not just to serve your own agenda, which it sounds like maybe that other person was doing, if they even bothered to ask you questions. It sounded like he asked you a very general question: how can I add value to you? But what are you even supposed to say to something like that? And so you need to kind of know the questions that you would ask to your targeted demographic, right? The basic general questions, so that you can discover what they see as of value, what I call need, want, and desire. Okay. But even knowing the general demographic, psychographic, whatever graphic, okay, what's important is that you ask questions to them that allow them as individuals to be able to share that with you. And that's key. I mean, it's as simple and as complicated as that. It's asking the questions and then listening. And really listening, as Dr. Stephen Covey said, listening to understand, not just to respond. And it's really only after we are sure that we know their needs, wants, desires, challenges to overcome, what would bring them closer to happiness, only after we understand that we're even in a position to connect the benefits of our product, service, idea, specific deal, what have you, to that person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're really not adding value to them.
Yeah. I love that.
100%.
Thanks.
I want to double tap just on the first two, the ratio between value and the fee that you charge, right? That's something that has stuck with me since the first time I read this book. And I think it's so crucial, is to eliminate the idea of providing massive value for very low cost. That's not actually what the concept is at all, right? And then obviously scaling the amount of people that you serve. Those two laws for me, they come down to a very simple premise. It's something that I've strived for in all of our businesses. I had to learn the hard way along the way. Those two for me really come down to a focus on being really great at what you do, rather than just doing a lot of what you do. And what I mean by that is, in all of our businesses, our multifamily business, we have a property management business as well. It is really, really, it's really enticing to just try and grow and grow and grow for growth's sake. We think growth first. We think on the management side, how do we get more doors under management? On the investment side, how do we do more deals? And oftentimes, if we're not focusing on being really great at what we do, we're missing a key piece of that growth, because the reality is if you're so focused on growth and not enough on service and on providing value to the people that you're working with, you'll always be in growth mode because your churn is incredibly high. And I have found that when we focus on being really good at what we do, that the growth tends to come a lot more naturally. Now, I want to be great at growing too. But if we're really great at providing value to our clients, to our partners, worrying about the growth it actually becomes much more palatable to grow, and much less scary, because you know you're good at what you do. And I think that that's really, really, really important. And I think to parlay that with the third law, I have fallen victim to this in the past. I have at times become a yes man as a business person and as a leader, because I believe that was the way to put other people's needs first. The reality is, when you say yes to everything, thinking that you're putting other people's needs first, you're often violating your own processes, your own systems, your own principles by seeking out just to appease people in the short term. And that's definitely been a big learning lesson as a leader for me, and something I've worked very hard on. I did a great example. I did a 2-hour call with one of our clients yesterday on the management side. They had a lot of questions about the way that we do things, and they have a lot of doors in their portfolio that we manage for them. And I spent 2 hours with them receiving feedback and talking about our processes. I had never really taken the time to ask them about their long-term investment goals and the strategy for their portfolio. And through that conversation, I was able to speak to the value that I believe we have in a lot of our processes that they didn't understand before, why we do things the way that we do. But I think that was only because they understood that we do things, but they didn't understand why we do them and how why we do them aligns with their long-term goals. And it was a really, really beneficial conversation. I think it was one of the most meaningful 2 hours of my entire week, because I spent a lot of time with a client learning more about them, asking the questions. And as a natural byproduct of asking the right questions, having a conversation around some things that they might not have been totally happy with before came very naturally, because I was able to align the value that we provide with their goals. And I would have never done that if I didn't strive for a deeper understanding of what those goals were.
Boy, that's fantastic. I mean, what a difference maker that is. And I'm sure they felt it. And it took that relationship to an entirely different level. And it really made it was a client experience that you gave them through that. So congratulations.
No, I appreciate that. And experience is another great word around. I think the entire go-giver methodology is, what is the experience that you're giving someone in providing value to them? And I think that goes back to what Bachowski was saying before. You could maybe even be entirely genuine in trying to provide someone value, but are you giving them an experience that they understand, that they enjoy, that feels good to them? Or are you rushing into a call and immediately hitting them with a whole bunch of questions around how you can bring them value, and then trying to sell them on something that might be great for them, but they don't feel the experience at all?
They don't feel it. No. And that's so very key. So when we talk about being able to provide value to others, really what it is, it's the product service itself, of course, baseline, that's very important, but there's got to be more to that, because all your competitors, can tell anyone that they can do the same thing. And until a potential client or customer, partner, what have you, knows the difference between any two or more practitioners, companies, situations, it always is going to come down to, what's the lowest cost of entry, right? Which is not a good way to do business. In fact, you were talking earlier about, being a go-giver, and value doesn't mean low price. No, of course it does. In fact, it doesn't. Most go-givers tend to be at the higher end of the price scale, because a go-giver sells on high value, not low price.
Yeah.
As we know, when you sell on low price, you're a commodity.
Absolutely.
When you sell on high value, you're a resource.
It's funny that you said, it's just very relevant. So we're very big followers of the EOS process.
Oh, they're awesome. They're great.
Yeah. great philosophy. Part of that is identifying your three uniques. And it's so funny that you say that. One of our businesses is very much a race to the bottom as far as pricing. And one of our three uniques legitimately is the promise that we make you that we will never be the cheapest. Because the cheapest in that particular business usually is by far the worst quality and the worst client experience. We actually have it as one of our uniques that we're going to make you a promise we will never be the cheapest solution for you, with good cause.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I have my, let's see, if you look to my, I think it's, I can't tell on here left or right, but you can see Traction, the book up there in the.
I carry a copy in my backpack. I have for like ever, and it never leaves. Now I'll carry the Go Giver and right next to it in my backpack as well.
Thank you.
So Bob, I was going to ask a question, when specific to the second law of compensation, right? You'll earn money in proportion to the amount of people that you serve, right? In enterprise software, I've been in the technology sales business now for 14 years, right? There's a saying that says you'll be paid in proportion to the complexity of the problems you solve, right? Which is why, some enterprise software salespeople, we had like Ian Koniak on the show earlier this year, who was #1 sales rep at Salesforce.com for several years in a row. And he was solving very big, complex business problems for his customers. And that's really kind of how he made the transition to being a B+ performer to an A+ performer. Is that kind of the similar train of thought that you're trying to convey in the book?
So it's a couple fold here, because really that almost goes back to being part of the law of value, that, economically speaking, just a very basic law of economics is that person who is hardest to replace is at a higher financial value, right? And so that person who can solve problems can make a lot of money. Those problems who can solve really complex problems can make a whole lot of money. It's why a general practitioner as a doctor, makes decent money, but they don't make as much money as a specialist. Right. And the more of a specialty, then you get to like, brain surgery, right? They're going to make even more, neuro, whatever, is going to make even more. So to the degree of complexity means it's harder to replace you. And that's going to be now. So this person who solves these very complex problems and makes a lot of money just from that, to the degree they expand their reach and solve those very complex problems from more and more people, that's the degree that their income grows and grows in that way.
Love that.
Yeah. And Bob, in the multifamily space, we see a lot of people that reach out asking for mentorship, right? This is complex. It is, we're talking about a lot of money, especially when we're trusted with investors' money and not just ours. What should someone do, especially if they're newer, right, to find a mentor, and what should they not do when trying to find one?
Well, I would suggest that if you're reaching out to someone who you'd like to have mentor you, and let's say you don't have a relationship with this person yet, okay? One of the worst things, or let's say most counterproductive things you could do, is to contact this person and say, "Hey, I need a mentor. Would you mentor me?" Because first, if you would like this person to mentor you, the chances are there's a whole bunch of other people who are also asking that person to do that, and they have limited, time or desire, to do that. And so it doesn't distinguish you as being different from everyone else. And keep in mind too, that a mentor protege relationship is just that. It's a relationship. Just like you wouldn't ask somebody to marry you before asking for a first date, it's the same thing here. So I wouldn't ask that person to mentor me when there's no relationship there. So what I would suggest instead is framing it a different way. And let me share with you what I would suggest, and then I'll give you the reasons why. You can still reach out to anybody who you'd like, though. You can reach out to that person and just say something like, I understand you're very busy. If this is something you don't have the time to do, or for whatever reason would rather not, I'll absolutely understand. I wonder if I might ask you one or two very specific questions. Now, what you've done is well, three things. One is you've respected the process. Um, you let them know how you understand that, they're very, very busy. This is not something that you feel entitled to. Okay. The second thing you've done is you've given that person an out or back door by saying, if you'd rather not, for any reason you'd rather not. And this is very important because people don't want to feel pressured into doing something. They want to do it because they want to do it. And so, you're letting this person know you'll totally understand if they'd rather not, which counterintuitively causes that person to be much more agreeable, typically, right? And third, and this is very important, rather than just, again, asking them for a whole mentorship thing or to pick their brain and all these other things that communicate that it might be a waste of their time. You've asked if you could, ask one or two very specific questions. This says to that person, okay, this person is not going to waste my time. They're going to ask only a couple questions. They know what they want to ask. So, they have an agenda set, and agenda in this case is a good thing, in a good way. And so they're much, much more likely to say, sure, absolutely, go ahead. How can I help you? Now, not everyone's going to do that, but not everyone has to, right? But you're very much increasing the odds that that person is going to take the time to answer a couple of very quick, specific questions. Now, it goes almost without saying, which I'm saying anyway, of course, that you want to research this person so you don't ask them a question that you could have found the answer to online, of course. But you're going to, just not take up much of their time, ask the questions when the conversation's finished, you thank them profusely, let them know that you're look forward to applying their wisdom right away. Would it be okay if I, checked in and kept you up to date on my progress? They'll say, yes, absolutely. Please do. Now, as soon as you whether it's in person and you leave or on Zoom and you hang up or phone, whatever, is to what I would suggest is writing a very brief, personalized, handwritten thank you note.
Yeah.
That simply says, dear Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, or first name, or however the relationship's been established. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Your wisdom is priceless. I look forward to applying it immediately, and we'll let you know how things are progressing. Again, many thanks. Best regards. Sign your name. Put it in a regular envelope. Hand stamp it. Don't not a meter stamp, a regular hand stamp, and that's going to make a big impression. You can also find out their favorite charity or cause, which you can, again, find out by searching them online, or at worst, ask their admin. Don't ask them. Don't let them know you're doing, but make even a small donation in their name, and that will get back to them. And you're not doing it to kiss up or anything. You're doing it really just so that they know, again, that you respect the process. Sure. And that you appreciate them and you want to add value in your own way. Now, a few weeks later, you might call or text or however whatever it would be, maybe have another question, bring them up to date. Eventually, if a mentor protege relationship starts, great. It might not. It might be your only conversation with them. And then you do the same with some other people. And here's what my thought is this: go through this process, do it this way. And what you'll find is whether you meet your ultimate, Tuesdays with Maury long-term mentor or not, you're going to have no problem ever bringing people into your world who can help you along your path. And of course, you'll do the same for others once you're in that position.
Love that.
Love it.
Question for you, Bob. I know we're coming up on time here. Sorry, Nick. The downside not being in the studio. When you run into people, Bob, that have read the book and really applied the framework, which of the 5 laws seems to be the one that jumps out at them as either outside the norm or most impactful?
Oh gosh, great question. I think in terms of impactful, it's probably the laws of value and influence. The toughest one people have though is receptivity. because again, the messages from society around us, the anti-money, anti-prosperity, anti-abundance, anti-business messages that we receive from pretty much everywhere, they just, they can really get into a person's consciousness and more insidiously into their unconscious, right? Yeah. And so they really have to. And John and I have had emails from people saying that that chapter about the law of receptivity, it's like that it gave them permission for the first time to realize that it's good to receive. But I would also say this, that while John and I cover that on a surface level in the book, there are many great books, teachers, practitioners out there who do a great job of really going in depth in terms of mastering the prosperity mindset. You've got people like Randy Gage and David Nagel, Sharon Lechter, Lisa Peterson, Ken Honda. I hate to even leave anybody. I shouldn't even say names because I'll leave people out. But really do a search on for prosperity mindset teachers, because this is really what we need. It's reading their blogs, it's watching their videos, it's attending their courses, because what they really teach is 99% of what they teach is how to get past those mental unconscious blocks, right? That keep us from the prosperity that we so richly deserve as a result of providing immense value to so many people.
Man, that is fantastic advice. And we want to be respectful of time. And people can find you everywhere. So I don't want to say for thegogiver.com. Obviously, if you haven't read the book, make sure you pick up a copy of the Little Red Book. But Bob, if you were going to direct people anywhere that they could connect or learn more or get involved, where would people be best served to find you, Bob?
Yeah, pretty much everything's on Burg, BURG.com. They can also subscribe to my daily impact email. Check out the Go Giver Academy, where we have the Go Giver Success Vault. And there's a lot of information and goodies there. So go to Burg.com and just tour around.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
This was amazing, Bob. Thank you so much. And would love to have you come back if you would be open to an invite, because we have so many more questions. And but here's what we can do. If you would like to have Bob back on the show, go leave a review on Spotify, on podcast, go on YouTube, comment on here. That way we can overwhelm him and say, hey, we need an encore here to bring him back. As well as if you are an investor or thinking about investing, all you need to do is go to deepbluere.com, go sign up for the investor newsletter, and you'll get notified when shows just like this is getting released. We'll send everything out, as well as any investment opportunities, which we have several coming up. And then, look, you need to go to tourstudios.com, get with Jesse, the man with no face, because he won't go on camera, but build out a podcast just like this so you can get Bob to come on and share the 5 laws on your show. All you got to go do is go to tourstudios.com.
Right. Bob, thank you so much for the time. Truly, if time allows, we'd love to have you back soon and continue this conversation, because there's a whole lot more I think we can get to.
I'd love that. Thanks for having me on with you. I appreciate it.
All righty, guys. Episode 58 in the books. We will see you next week.